Challenges of defending Robert Griffin?
I think he's a legitimate Heisman Trophy candidate. I think he's a guy, and I haven't seen all the games obviously, but I think he affects the game and is as important to his team as anybody in the country. You know, the way he can stress a defense by moving in the pocket, running the football. I mean, a guy who goes 4 games in the season and has more touchdown passes than incompletions, I mean, I've never heard of anything like that. So, I mean, he's extremely, a difficult person to try to defend, and but our guys understand that and will be up for the challenge.
Is he more difficult to deal with this year because he's become a more accurate passer?
I think that's part of it. I think part of it's, they're the 4th year in their system. They've got excellent weapons around them. Kendall Wright, I think, is as good a receiver as there is in our conference and maybe in the country. Extremely explosive, very, very explosive player after the catch, fast, great hands. They've got a big back in Ganaway who can pound the ball. So you mix all that together, and then the fact that he can run, and he's really, really accurate with his throws. I mean, I don't know what his stats are right now, completion percentage-wise, but his passer rating's through the roof. I think he's by far the leading quarterback in the country.
Is it possible to successfully blitz him, given that?
We'll find out. I mean, we're going to do what we do. You got to be judicious with someone like him, but we're gonna mix things up, and I think you have to do something to disrupt him. When he's comfortable in the pocket, he's extremely accurate. We've got to do some things to get him out of his comfort zone, and it's going to be hopefully through some disguise of coverage and through some pressure.
How big a concern are, like, against Baylor, the trick play? I know they like going to it a lot. SMU did in the first game. How much different does that make your preparation during the week?
Well, I mean, it's obviously part of their plan every week, and it changes every week. We will run different trick plays every week just so our guys are cognizant of it. They do a nice job with it in getting the ball to their playmakers to find ways, creative ways to get the ball to Kendall Wright. It's just one more facet that makes them difficult to defend, and our guys have to be very, very sound, and you can't turn guys loose. If something weird's happening where the run's going this way but someone's running away from you, you just have to be aware that there may be a throwback pass or something goofy happening.
Are they much different from last year? Because last year they gashed you early and you made adjustments in the second half and shut them down. I mean, how much different
I think they're playing with a lot more confidence this year. Anytime you have a returning quarterback, especially someone of his stature, many of the moving parts around him are back, including Wright. They're just playing with a lot of confidence, and they're playing with maybe a little bit higher tempo than what we experienced. As you watch the tape, people are having a hard time getting lined up against them, and they're playing with a lot of swagger. They have a ton of confidence in what they're doing, and if you don't knock them off schedule, they're just going to keep rolling.
How do you get your team to maybe feel that confidence and that swagger on defense?
Well, you got to get stops. We did a better job in the second half the other day. The other thing you got to do is you got to force takeaways, and we've been horrible this year. The other day we were close on 4 different plays. We had 2 passes hit us in the hands. Twice we get sacks on the quarterback, the ball's out. We weren't there to get it. I think when you can have momentum-changing plays where you get takeaways, and I think we're really, really close right now. I mean, we're making tackles and guys are going after the ball. You got to give Tech credit; they held on to it the times that we were really going after it. But it will continue to be an emphasis for us, and we've got to get stops and you got to get takeaways.
Talk about your guys being more physical at the point of attack, how encouraging that is, especially playing a team like Baylor who's going to bubble screen.
Well, I thought we had an excellent week of practice last week. Going to that up tempo, our scout team did an unbelievable job. Coach Peterson runs our scout team, and we had 2 huddles coming at us, and really had an emphasis of getting lined up and being physical at the point of attack. And guys like Sean Porter and Terrence Frederick and Caleb Russell really, I thought, did a real nice job of either getting off blocks or going through blocks. I don't know how much yardage they had on any of that glove bubble and smoke screen stuff, but it wasn't very much. And then at the same time, as the game was progressing, we told them, hey, the next thing they're going to go to is the fake stuff and go, and we were successful in covering that too. So I was pleased on how we defended that, but we've got to do a better job in rerouting overall. You know, we're decent, we're better, but we got to get better at rerouting, and then again, with some of our younger guys having their read progression and staying with receivers.
With the idea of giving you a chance to defend yourself, Coach Tuberville and his offensive coordinator, it's always interesting to start a question like that, right? Coach Tuberville and his offensive coordinator both after the game questioned the legitimacy of the injuries. And Coach Sherman addressed it earlier and said, y'all, you know, you'd never take a dive or anything like that, but would like you to address it as well.
Well, I take offense to it because we absolutely, without question, never teach that, never coach it, never talk about it. I've got an outside linebacker with a dislocated elbow. DeMontre Moore may not practice today because he got a stinger in his neck. I mean, every one of our injuries were guys in the middle of a pile, something happening. It's not the stuff that happened in the Cal game where guys look to the sideline and all of a sudden they take a dive. You know, if they want to use that as an excuse, that's up to them. And I understand, you know, the environment, people talk about that all the time, but absolutely, there was no taking a dive. We had legitimate injuries, and it offends me as a coach, as someone would impugn the way we coach by saying something like that.
What's your thought? I mean, the up-tempo has changed the game so much. I mean, it's almost like Coach Sherman referred to the integrity of the game. What's your thoughts on that?
You know, it's within the rules. I'm not a big fan of it, clearly, but it's within the rules. And so, if teams want to use that as a tactic, they can. The issue I have is if you're using the same personnel on the field and up tempo, you got to match that. But when they sub out personnel, you ought to have the opportunity by rule to match with it, and we weren't allowed that opportunity.
Do you start looking at officiating crews? Obviously, different crews are going to do it different ways, right? I mean, is there certain crews that are going to say, just let it go? I mean, is that what's going to get down to? You're going to study these crews ahead of time? Or?
We're having discussions right now with the officials. I don't know what the answer is, to be honest with you. I know how the rules are supposed to go, and you're supposed to have an opportunity to match. I think the officials have a very, very difficult job when it is that high tempo of a pace. They don't always see people change. We have people in the box looking for it, and so when they change, we try to change. And you know, it's frustrating as a coach because it looks like you're not organized when that happens. And guys are running on the field. We tell them when they sub, we're allowed the opportunity to sub. Don't worry about it, and then the officials don't back you on it. So I think it's difficult, you know, for the officials, but it's also very frustrating and very difficult for our guys. And you know, I think there needs to be a discussion on it within the league to figure out, you know, how they want to handle it, because it's becoming more and more widespread with different teams. And like I said, it's a legitimate tactic if you're using the same personnel. But you know, we're having, you know, a team last week. They'll run a 50-yard go route. The guy gets done with this route, runs right off the sideline. Another guy runs off from right at the line of scrimmage. Our corner's having to run 50 yards back, and they're snapping the ball. I mean, without the opportunity to sub, I don't know that it's legitimate.
If you were going to put a spy on Robert Griffin, who would that guy be? Would it be Sean Porter, or or is that too insider?
I'd probably make a call to 303 area code to try to get number 40 back here. But I don't know. I mean, we're in the middle of discussions right now. He's a guy that you have to take account into. I mean, he's one of those game changer kind of guys, like I think Vaughn was for us a year ago, where you have to do something to account for him, and we'll have a plan for it.
Now, he had his first 100-yard game this past week, so he hadn't been running as much. I mean, do you look at that and go, this is a guy who's gliding out to pass, or as a legit runner?
He wasn't running a whole lot until our game last year either, you know. And he creased us for a pretty good one. So I just think, you know, the fact that he's so explosive, so fast, you have to have that into consideration whenever you put your plan together. And so he does a really good job of escaping the rush and getting outside to make plays and extending plays. You've got to keep him contained, and it's very difficult to do. And our guys will see it on tape, and we will have a plan for it. It's just something that we're going to have to meet it on Saturday to actually see the speed of it.